Right. In three, two, one. Another week of sports here on the Alaska Sports Talk podcast. So glad to have you along wherever you are tuned in here to AST through any of your fine podcast platforms and also on YouTube as well. More and more people, I think, are viewing
Yeah,
our YouTube clips. I
there's a
think.
lot of people reviewing those.
And I don't know if
100%.
that's a good thing because now they can see what I look like. Yeah. Rather than what just hear my voice, but neither here nor there. Glad to have you along wherever you get the Alaska Sports Talk podcast. Isaiah Freeman, Keaton Homer along with you, even though it says Brian Hoskin down in the lower left-hand corner of the Zoom. Don't mind
Oh,
that.
I
Don't.
don't.
You
My
can't
name
see
is
that.
Isaiah. It's not Brian.
Yeah.
Unless
It's Isaiah.
I say something dumb, then
Yeah.
Then I'm Brian.
I was going to
Okay.
ask you a whole bunch of, high school football officiating
Yeah.
rules and scenarios and see what
Well, I can
happens.
definitely answer them. They might
Oh,
not be
okay.
right, but I'll answer them.
But we'll say Brian
But
said this.
but Brian said it. Yeah,
Yeah.
coaches
Yeah.
use that in the fall. Go
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
it.
I
No, I
might be
heard
like,
you. I'm pretty sure we heard you. Your name was
yeah.
right there.
Right there in the corner. Something like, there's no such thing as pass interference anymore in high school football. We can just, tackle people whenever.
And it's 5 downs instead of 4 now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's 5.
yeah. Just
NFHS
random.
passed that rule, just so you know. It's
Yeah.
5
Hey,
downs.
the new NFHS rulebook actually just came out for high school football like not too long ago. So
Yeah, nobody.
it's
I'm
pretty
sure people
relevant.
didn't realize it's 5 downs now.
You know, it's funny.
We're
This,
kidding. I'm kidding.
yeah, no,
I'm
that's all
kidding.
joke. Yes, it's still 4 downs unless it's in Canada. They have 3,
Yeah.
but I know we're close. But it's not. Anyway, neither here nor there. Funny story about the NFHS rule book and kind of Brian Hoskin one side.
Oh, this is good.
Uh,
Yeah.
this had to be probably 4 or 5 years ago. I think I would assume something along that line. And there was I was coaching. It was a Chugiak game. All right, so I'm on the sidelines. I think we're losing something like that. Brian's the head referee, and I think it was something to do with timing. And I noticed something going on with the clock, and like it was running, and maybe it shouldn't have. And I get that the score was probably out of hand, but it wasn't at the point. It wasn't the 35 like point margin where the clock should have been running, right? And I think the clock was just kept running, right? And I'm like, hey, we got to stop the clock. Like, running around out of bounds. Like, why aren't we stopping the clock? And, like, I say something to the effect, what are we just making up willy nilly rules up here?
Oh,
Like, and,
willy
like,
nilly.
Brian's like, he kind of laughs and whatnot. He's like, yeah, whatever, I don't know. But, like, the next week, I think he officiates one of the Chugiak games again, and he hands me, like, a rule book. And, like, inside the rule book is, like, a page printed off that you can tell like he photocopied, and it's like rule 3-11, officials can make up willy-nilly calls whenever they desire. I'm like, come on, this is getting like
He took some
whatever.
time to put that together.
Yeah, he did. I still have it somewhere. I'll have to find it, but I was
That's
like,
awesome.
oh my god.
Yeah, Brian
It
would
was
do
fun.
that. Yeah.
No, he did.
He
Oh
would
yeah,
definitely
totally,
do that.
totally did. Having some fun with it, which is
That's
fine.
pretty
Which
good.
is good. But yeah, it was something that like it was on the edge of like it was a 34-point game, right? It wasn't 35, and I was angry that the clock hadn't stopped, right? Because the rules state
It's 35. You're right.
35 points. I don't care if it's 34 points
Willy-nilly.
with 2 minutes. Yeah, I'm like, we're just making up rules willy-nilly out here, like whatever. Like, yeah. Anyway, so,
Like that.
yeah, that's a sidetrack to start
Yeah.
a podcast, but whatever.
But it's still
It's all good.
sports.
Still
Stick to
sports.
sports. Stick to
Sticking to
sports.
sports. That's it. Obviously, we're in the midst of softball, soccer, baseball, track and field season. These are all starting to get down to the final week in some cases here for the sports. I think soccer has their final week this week, correct? Or do they have one more that Memorial Day week? I couldn't remember if they have that time off.
No, well, it depends. Some used to do conference tournaments, some don't.
Right.
So it baseball, I know, like for instance, the Cook Inlet Conference, they'll basically be done on Saturday.
For
They'll
soccer.
be- for well, no,
Yeah.
for for
Oh,
soccer. Everyone will be done on Saturday for soccer,
okay.
whether it's regular season or any conference tournaments. I don't think anybody has soccer tournaments or conference tournaments anymore just
Yeah.
because the season's so short. Wow.
You can speak. I mean, it's okay.
Well,
I mean, it happens
speaking's
to the
hard.
best of us.
Speaking's
It
hard.
is. I mean, a lot of people don't understand how, like, you got to think about the words and then you got to make your mouth move. And
Yeah.
there's a whole process to it. So, but the soccer season is winding down, nevertheless. And uh, just looking at kind of the standings and things and where things are at, Colony and West probably the two top teams to beat right now. Colony is 13-1-2. They have 63 goals for and have only given up 12 goals against so far in the season.
That's
West
pretty
is
good.
that is pretty good. West
That's
is right
pretty
behind them,
good.
even though they got off to a little bit of a slow start. If you remember way back in the very first couple of weeks of the season, West, I think, actually started like 0-2 to start the year. And I talked with their head coach for a brief moment in passing, and you kind of got the sense like a little bit worried, but not worried. And then they went on that road trip where they went down to the southeast and like started to kind of bond and gel. And well, now they've rattled off like 8 consecutive wins, and they're 10-2-1. They've scored 46 goals and only given up 13 against. So Juneau kind of in that same echelon. They haven't played as many games as Colony and West. They're 6-1-3, 43 goals for, 13 against. Dimond is 9-3-1, 58 goals for, 15 against. The other team out in the valley, Palmer, 11-1-2, 84 goals for and 14 against. But Palmer playing Division Two, I
Yeah.
believe, right?
Yep.
So
They
a little
do.
bit of a different, just to kind of put that in perspective. So the Palmer Moose probably in D2 soccer, boys soccer, the team to kind of look out for there in D2 boys soccer. But Colony and West out of the Division One boys soccer looking strong. Colony being led by what's his bucket? Can't think of his name. He just signed too with Wisconsin River Falls. Help me out, help me out, help me out.
Um,
Figgins, his last name. Um,
Jonathan
so
Figgins.
yes, thank you, appreciate that. He's kind of their go-to, do it all, right? And I think he signed. I don't know if he signed for soccer or if he signed for football, because he's also a kicker for Colony for their football team as well. But yeah, he's kind of the go-to guy for the Colony soccer team. I think he has 20 goals on the season, which is tops in the state. So,
That's that's
I
pretty
mean, 20
good.
goals, 20 goals in a season.
That's a lot of
That's
goals.
yeah. I mean, how many games do you get in a season usually for soccer? Like maybe 20?
20. I mean, I don't think most of them are getting 24, which would be the 22 plus two. So I would say
Right.
20 to 22 probably max.
And so you're averaging either a goal a game or maybe a little above a goal per game right now is Johnny Figgins. So that's just,
That's
crazy to think
pretty
of.
good.
That's pretty good.
That's
That's pretty good.
pretty good.
I mean, West has Noah Robinson, and he's leading the Cook Inlet Conference with 12 goals, you know. So, I mean, you're almost doubling the next closest person uh, in the state. So, pretty good stuff there. And I don't know, maybe Colony and West destined on a collision path in D1 soccer. We'll see what happens.
No, I
So,
think I think Juno's going to have something to say about it
you think
too.
so?
I think so. I mean, I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know. How they stack up necessarily with all the CIC teams. I know West did really well down there. Um,
Trying
but
to find the score for you.
come tournament time, I've seen Juno be a 4 or 5 seed in the early years of my soccer tournament running, and they ended up in the championship game. So Gary always has a little something up his sleeve down there in Juno.
All right. All right. Well, it could be Could be interesting. And of course, state championships rolling around right around the corner in a couple of weeks. State championships happening out in the valley, I believe, again, correct, for state
Uh,
soccer.
that's correct.
Yep.
Yep.
So, uh, are they hosted at one site or they got multiple sites again?
It'll be three sites. We'll have some at Palmer, we'll have some at Colony, and then the main championship field is Wasilla, since Wasilla is technically hosting them, but since we need three fields, we run them at those
Right.
three high schools.
Gotcha.
So when you're looking at the RPI, we're talking a lot about soccer right now. If you look at
Yeah.
ASAA365.com, the soccer RPI is there, and you'll be able to see kind of where some of the teams stack up. But you know, some teams have more games than others, but overall, people have got a decent number of amount of games in there and around. When you get around 11, 12, 13 games, that's where it starts to really become much more valid versus one, two, three games kind of thing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's looking pretty solid. So we'll see. Again, it depends on who qualifies out of the conference tournaments or out of the regular season standings or conference tournaments.
Yeah.
But South girls and Diamond girls looking pretty strong with Wasilla right behind them. And then, like you said, to your point, Colony West really looking strong and Juneau right there. Diamond not that far behind on that for the boys. Ketchikan for Division Two boys. Kenai for Division Two girls is in the number one spot for D2 soccer.
RPI. Yeah.
Yeah, for the
For the-
RPI. So I mean, there's going to be some changes, but looking at just I haven't looked in these numbers over the course of the weekend. I looked at them when we had our last podcast, but they're starting to look a little bit more settled now. Where
Right.
they could change, but there are some pretty decent sized gaps in between some of them where I don't know if they would change that much depending on what happens this weekend.
Speaking of RPI, we're going to touch on RPI again
Yeah, we
here in a
will.
little while.
Oh,
So we'll kind of circle back around with that, bring something else up with the RPI as well. So yeah, obviously state soccer right around the corner, starting to lock things in terms of potential spots and things like that. And then once the seedings come out and where teams are going to be placed for D2 boys and girls and D1 boys and girls soccer, we'll obviously break down the brackets and matchups and things like that when those are announced. Do we have a date for when those brackets will be out
well,
by
I will
chance?
try on, well, for both weekends for track and field. I mean, soccer this coming Sunday, as well as baseball, softball the next Sunday. We try to have those out by Sunday night. Now, a lot of that depends on if we get qualifiers from some of the conferences. Sometimes that
Yeah.
can be a little tough for some of these spring sports,
Yeah.
where some are like, hey, here's our qualifiers right away. And then sometimes, Sandy and I are really trying to hunt them down. So it kind of depends. But generally, over the last few years, we've been able to get them out Sunday by, 5, 6 o'clock at night.
Okay. All right. Well, so that following podcast, we'll have a
Oh, yeah.
breakdown
Yep.
of the brackets and things like that. Uh, softball obviously happening as well. CIC softball. The Betty Davis East Anchorage Thunderbirds capturing first place at the moment in the CIC standing, staying undefeated. They are a perfect 8-0 in conference play. They have lost a couple of games overall, including one to Dimond, which was a non-conference matchup. But East 15-2 overall, 8-0 in the conference. They are coming off an 11-0 victory over the Chugiak Mustangs. An impressive pitching performance by Sailor Rodriguez.
Man.
Had a number of strikeouts in this game. She retired 15 of 16 batters in that run rule game. But I think the first hit for Chugiak didn't come until somewhere in like the fourth or fifth inning or something like that. But yeah, impressive what the Thunderbirds are doing right now in the realm of softball. So East is in first in the CIC, Chugiak in second. That's 7-2. Chugiak did bounce back later that day, by the way, after they got blanked with a 19-2 win over Bartlett. So just for all you Mustang fans out there, like, oh yeah, we got rallied by East, but hey, you bounce back. So
You bounce back.
yeah, you bounce back. East also beat Service, I think 16 nothing maybe. Later on that day as well. So East kept it rolling that last Saturday. There's actually games going on tonight. for softball. I don't think any scores have been posted. I know that Dimond and West are playing, Bartlett and South, South and West, and then Dimond versus East. East and that Dimond East game just started a little bit about an hour ago. So we'll see how things kind of shake out. But in terms of D1 softball, at least in the CIC, the Thunderbirds looking really strong. Mustangs right behind them, but East with that emphatic 11-0 victory this past weekend at the Albrook Field. So,
Well, Chugiak looks like they got games tomorrow back to back for softball.
yeah, yeah. So,
7:45 against Betty Davis East again.
well, chance at redemption. I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean, softball's weird like that too. I mean,
it is.
it's, in terms of not just the back-to-back things or things like that, but depending on who's pitched and
Yeah,
who's in the rotation, right? I mean, you never. I mean, one day you get blanked 11-0. The next day it's like, oh, we turned around, we won 5-2, right? It all depends on who's pitching and things like that. If Sailor Rodriguez is going again for the Thunderbirds, it could be another tough outing, however, for the Mustangs.
yeah,
So
yep.
we'll see how things kind of go there as we get down to the stretch of softball season as well.
The
Mentioned the
Railbelt,
CIC standings. Yep, go
the
ahead.
Railbelt, Juneau 7-1, and then Colony's 6-1 in conference. So in West Valley, Lathrop, and Wasilla rounding out that conference. Not doing quite as well as the top two. West Valley at 2-4, Lathrop and
Right.
Wasilla with 1. But Juneau and Colony are looking pretty strong right now. That kind of seems like those are the teams. Now upsets can happen, but those seem like the
Right.
teams that are going to be coming out of the rail belt. Then the other four, we'll see what happens with Cook Inlet.
Yeah, looking briefly here at the Division Two softball standings, Middle Alaska, Northern Lights, and Southeast, the three conferences in D2 softball. Monroe Catholic and North Pole, kind of the top of the Mid Alaska right now. The Northern Lights Conference between Kodiak, Soldotna, and Palmer. Throw Kenai in the mix there as well. Soldotna 11-2 overall and 6-0 in conference play. Kodiak 8-6, 4-0 in conference play. So two teams who are undefeated in conference between Kodiak and Soldotna. Palmer 6-2 in conference play, 9-7 overall. Kenai 5-2 and 9-9 overall. So the Northern Lights Conference really strong, and there's going to be some shakeups, I'm sure, here in the last few games in terms of where those teams end up finishing in the Northern Lights. Southeast, Sitka and Ketchikan. Sitka 2-1 in conference play. They are 14-2 overall. So the Sitka Wolves looking like they'll probably earn the bid out of the Southeast. Just my
Yeah,
assumption.
I'm pretty sure Sandy was talking to me about Sitka. Boy, what was it? Like a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks now. But I think Sitka has been involved in every single Division II state championship in the last 10 years or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been a
For
long
softball?
time for softball. Yeah, or maybe it wasn't Sitka specifically, but a Southeast. It's always been two Southeast teams
Oh,
in the finals,
interesting.
which is not a huge shock. They've been
No,
really, really strong.
no, Southeast for baseball and softball, just because I feel like the fact of where they're located, they can get a jump start
Oh,
earlier than
yeah.
many of the teams across the state, which is good and awesome. And that's why I feel like part of the reason why they're so dominant is just the fact, all right, hey, it's the end of February. We don't have any snow, so let's get outside and
Yep.
let's start playing. So, but anyway, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was indeed the
No.
case, that a Southeast Conference team has made the finals for the last 10 years or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
so it's been a
So,
long time. I know that.
yeah, yeah, 100%. So that kind of gets you caught up on softball and things that are happening there. Again, if you want to check out the scores, standings, go to ASAA365.com. Also, check out our friends over at the Alaska Sports Report as well. Some great articles and write-ups about
Hmm.
baseball and softball happenings right now as well. Did we get an update on baseball? I guess we could throw this one out there. It's a pretty
Yeah.
big one. Pretty big one. Uh, this just in, breaking news. Well, maybe not anymore, but um, now a chance for us to talk about, because we talked about it on the last podcast,
We did.
right? If
Absolutely. Yeah.
the Service Cougars were going to go undefeated, and I said, it's possible, but I just get a feeling like I don't know. There's the possibility of them tripping up somewhere, and it happened. I didn't mean to jinx them. I didn't like. If you want somebody to blame, sure, I'll take all the blame. Whatever. Give me the old
I think they're going to
broadcaster
blame
jinx.
you. I think they're going to
I'm
blame you.
used to it.
Yep.
I'm used to it. Just like when UAA is at the free throw line and somebody's shooting 7 for 7 in the game, and I mention it, and they brick the eighth one, right? Blame me, sure. So Service losing to South in a tight ball game, 3-2, and it ended Service's 36-game unbeaten streak against Alaska teams. It started off South picking up a run in the first inning, and it was pretty much a pitcher's duel throughout the rest of the game until you get to the sixth inning and seventh inning. Service actually took a lead 2-1 going into the bottom of the seventh inning, and then South able to scratch out 2 runs to win 3-2. As South won 3-2 on 6 hits. They had 6 hits in that entire game. Service 2 runs on 4 hits. And they also had 3 errors as well, which didn't help them out in that one-run ball game. So the South Anchorage Wolverines entering the 36-game winning streak. It was a walk-off RBI single there in the bottom of the seventh inning for South's Landon Drum to pick up that victory. So impressive win for South.
Yeah.
I'm sure very exciting. But on the other hand, for the Service Cougars, a chance to start another winning streak, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and if anything, maybe it's always interesting how coaches and players handle this sometimes. You get on those long winning streaks and you start not necessarily feeling the pressure, but maybe the expectation to win from the outside. And now, okay, good. It's done. It's over. We don't got anything to worry about now. And as you get closer to postseason play, you should almost have like that relief maybe gone. It's not the expectation of winning going into the playoffs,
Well, and you think about what happened with East boys basketball a few years back.
Right.
They go win a state championship, win a ton of games in a row, then they get back to another state championship, and they lose. I'm pretty sure
Yep.
Chuck would have traded that for a win and lost a regular season game.
Right.
It's I mean, you go out and you want to win every game. You never root for losing or anything like that as a coach, but
No.
at the same time, they're high school kids. That pressure builds
Exactly.
up. It's
Well,
I mean,
and they know what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, they hear about
not
it
a
from
secret.
friends at school or
Yeah.
whatnot, and people in the communities and things like that. Yeah, totally. So, I mean, you give the old coaches talk, the old, the cliche, yeah, win every game, whatever, every game counts the same, that kind of thing. Cool, great. But, kids feel the pressure of
absolutely.
things like that. So,
Yeah.
anyway, Service last loss, by the way, came in the 2023 state title game in Sitka.
In Sitka. That's
yeah.
right. That was a crazy game. Service was the at-large. I think Service was the at-large pick for that tournament, and they made it to the championship and almost won it.
Do you remember who they played in that
Was it
championship
Eagle
game?
River?
No, South.
Was it
won
South?
3. South won 3-2
Oh,
in 2023. So it's full circle. It's a circle.
full circle.
Like,
oh
so,
man,
yeah, it's crazy.
bulletin
So,
board material again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there you go. But South ending the winning streak is the big news in Division One baseball. Looking at the D1 baseball standings, South now, by virtue of that victory over Service, is now sitting in first place in the Cook Inlet Conference. They're 5-1, 19-2 overall. Service behind them a game, 4-1, 16-1 overall. Eagle River is in third place at 3-1, 10-3 overall, followed by Chugiak at 4-2 in conference play and 7-9 overall. And then it's West, Dimond, Bartlett, and Bettye Davis, East Anchorage, rounding out the D1 baseball standings. In the Railbelt, Wasilla undefeated at 6-0 in conference play, 15-4 overall. Colony at 500 in the Railbelt at 2-2, 7-6 overall. And then West Valley and Lathrop. And then down to the southeast, Sitka, Ketchikan, and Juneau. Well, the Sitka Wolves 9-0 in conference play,
Man,
um, 19-2 overall, with one tie mixed in there as well. So Sitka looking strong. Ketchikan and Juneau still looking for their first conference wins of the season. Ketchikan 6-12 on the season overall. Juneau 5-6 overall on the season. So uh,
Sitka's
D1
going to be
baseball,
tough.
yeah,
Sitka's
it
going
is
to
going
be
to be tough.
tough.
Yeah, all this talk about all the Anchorage teams, South and Service and things like that, and Sitka's just down there. Okay, we're minding our own business. Do 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 do.
Plugging along, just
Just
playing on
wait,
the best
wait till
field,
the
one of
state
the best fields
championship.
in the state,
Oh yeah,
as you
it,
said last week.
it's awesome. It's an awesome place.
Yeah,
So
it's a great field. Really
one of the
is.
best venues for baseball, not just in Alaska, maybe in the nation,
Yep.
uh,
Can't
for
beat
sure.
that
For high school
view.
baseball,
That
that's for
view
sure.
is unreal.
It is. It certainly is. So that kind of gets you caught up on softball, soccer, baseball a little bit. Uh, we'll kind of stay in the high school realm because Isaiah, prior to getting on the air for the podcast tonight, we were going over some of the ASAA kind of board minutes and things that change. And one of the things that we noticed
Yep.
was the RPI going to be introduced
S-
into hockey, right?
Yep. Division 1 and Division 2 hockey will have RPI next year, which I know that's something I've been pushing for a few years now. I've kind of been running it behind the scenes with all the stuff that's in Max Preps and ASAA 365. It just hasn't been public, but showed the coaches the last couple of years what the RPI looked like based on the regular season and standings that they had. And if you would run RPI, this is what it would look like and things like that. So I think it was, I think they finally were like, okay, yeah, let's do it. That makes sense. Let's do it. And very happy about that. I think that's going to make it a lot better. And some of the same arguments for basketball that I had years ago is, the way that we're doing it now for hockey has been what we did for basketball, where we can't even put out something halfway through the year like this is what it would look like if the state tournament was happening this week. But that would assume you'd have to assume these are the teams that make it, and you just can't assume that. So
Right.
there's no real data. There's nothing you can share. It's just nothing. So this will make it a lot more visible to people of this is what it is. And it's the same system that we have for basketball and soccer, which is really nice too. So hockey is now part of the RPI family.
Yeah. So if RPI rankings percentage index, correct?
Correct.
So
Yep.
it factors in, your wins against opponents, opponents' wins against common opponents, and that kind of thing. And there's a whole formula, and you get percentages and things like that. And so,
Yep.
uh, are things going to be seeded based upon the RPI?
Yep. So
Okay,
the hockey has at larges.
right,
So the at larges will then get selected through the RPI. So the highest ranked team in the RPI that doesn't automatically qualify will be the one that gets in, just like we do with basketball. Now, basketball has two at larges, hockey has one.
right,
So it'll just be the one. And then it'll base, okay, so here's the 8 teams that are in, and then it'll rank those 8 teams, 1 through 8. So,
got it.
and it again, it's 3 columns, which is really, really helpful. Your winning percentage, your opponent's winning percentage, and your opponent's winning percentage. Each column is weighted. So it just makes it a little bit more even. Like we say with the basketball stuff. Do I think it's 100% perfect? No.
No,
The perfect thing would be, everybody plays everybody once or
you're right.
home and away kind of thing. And then you just go based on it. That would be ideal. That would be the best.
Yeah,
But the issue is we live in Alaska and that's just not, that's just not going to
it's not
happen.
ideal. It's
It just,
not. You're right.
that just isn't going to happen. That doesn't even happen in some of the states that have road systems that they could get all to everywhere.
Right,
So
right.
again, I think it's the best thing that we got going right now, and I definitely think that it'll be visible. People will be able to see it, just like with the soccer stuff right now. You can see the RPI and where your team stands, so it's not a secret where we were accused of, oh, you're just hiding it so you can rig it the way you want. Well, no, not really. We can't do that. It's just not. We would have to assume that these 8 teams make the state tournament. And then if we did
Right.
that, well, here's what it would look like if these 8 teams made it. Well, then I believe me, I'd get emails. Why isn't this team in? We could do this. We're better than this team, blah, blah, blah. So it
Well,
just isn't worth it.
with the RPI, how often is it updated? Is it updated every week? Is it
So
updated
it is literally
on a
updated
game to game basis?
it's updated every hour.
Okay.
It is updated
Oh,
every hour. What I would encourage, if you're hockey people and you're hearing this for the first time that this is going to happen, and you're really curious and you don't follow basketball or soccer or any of that stuff, under the soccer and basketball RPI pages, you'll see a button that says "Click to view RPI frequently asked questions," and
right.
there's a lot of information in there that'll give you updated information on what that is. That'll answer
Yeah.
90% of your questions.
Now, does this go for Division Two as well? I assume it
Yep.
does for hockey across the board.
It'll go for
Yeah.
hockey across the board. Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, good to know. What else? Anything other in the minutes that we noticed
Well,
that we want to touch
remember how
on?
we said there was nothing really earth shattering? There isn't
Yeah.
anything super earth shattering, but there was some things that seemed like they were going to be discussion items that were actually voted on. Um, so Division One baseball will change just a little bit with the conference berths. The the change is the student enrollment numbers from baseball from 850 was put down to 650. So that means that Palmer, Soldotna, and North Pole will move up to Division One baseball next year.
Oh, wow.
And then
Okay.
so Cook Inlet will have 3 berths, Railbelt will have 2 berths, Mid-Alaska will have 1 berth, Southeast will have 1 berth, and then there'll be an at-large berth. So that will be the teams in the at-large pool will be determined at the December board meeting. So there'll be some proposals put together for that. My recommendation has always been use the RPI for that, but we'll see if that happens or not. And then for Division Two baseball, the big change was obviously Palmer, Soldotna, and North Pole moving up to Division One. But now Division Two, instead of an 8-team state tournament, they'll have a 4-team state tournament with 2 conferences, Northern Lights, and then another conference to be named later, which will have
Oh,
Delta, Hutch, Monroe, and Petersburg. So
interesting.
that's quite a conference, Delta, Hutch, Monroe, and Petersburg.
Yeah, that's spread out across the geographic map
That
there a little
might
bit.
that might actually now be the biggest spread conference we have. It used to be one of the Western basketball Western Conference was the biggest, just
Right.
because you had Barrow all the way down to, well, at some
Bethel.
points you had Dillingham back in there,
Oh,
but you had
okay.
Bethel. Bethel is in there. Used to be Dillingham, but years and years ago. But that region was that had the biggest kind of spread conference. Now I think it might be Delta, the Division Two
Whatever
baseball,
conference that's going to be.
whatever conference they're calling that. Maybe they call it the Long Way
the
Conference or something.
the big A conference.
Big A Conference. Oh, now you could just call it the Alaska Airlines Conference for
Yeah,
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 you might as
right.
well.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there. If they take that one, I want a royalty.
I'm
I'm
going to
just
call up Mary and Scott at Alaska. Hey, guys, we got a name for a conference. Do you
yeah.
want to sponsor it? Do you
You
want to
just
sponsor the
they
Alaska
gotta
Airlines
fly
Conference?
everywhere. Yeah,
They got to fly and run a van. I
yeah.
mean,
That's it. That's it.
so those are the big baseball. Those are the big
Okay.
baseball things. Couple other things. This was something, there's some roster policy stuff that'll change, but that'll be for next year, and I'm not going to bore people with that. That's more of a coach's thing. But one thing that I did see, and I know we had mentioned it in the last podcast, but this was a kind of interesting that I saw. The motion was presented and carried and passed 7-1 to move Reddington and Houston basketball out of the Eastern Conference and put them into the Peninsula Conference for basketball.
Hmm.
The Eastern Conference now will be renamed the Southeast Conference, and the Peninsula Conference will be renamed to the South Central Conference. And 1 berth from the former Eastern, which had 2 berths, will now become an at-large berth awarded on RPI. So 3A basketball used to have basically 4 conferences, 2 berths each. That'll change now. So the Southeast will have 1. The South Central will have two, and there'll be one at large, and everything else kind of stays the same. So it basically moves back to what it was
Okay.
prior to the development of the Eastern Conference when Reddington and Houston moved to form a conference with Sitka and Mount Edgecombe. So
It's kind of like college, conference realignment.
conference
We're
realignment,
just
and
shuffling things around.
shuffling things around. It's kind of interesting with the RPI now. 3A will have an at-large berth where they haven't had one for the past few years. And again, it kind of moves back to what it was years ago. Now, I know the
Yeah.
3A has been reshuffled a little bit just because Seward dropped down from 3A down to 2A because they had been pretty small for a while and then finally decided to make the move. So there was some shifting there. So it's kind of a domino effect of the 2A and 3A levels quite a bit.
Oh, crazy. All right. Well, so a
Yeah.
little bit of shuffling, a little bit of nuance there and things like that. Did they bring up anything with the shot clock or anything like that? I didn't
Um,
see anything that was
no,
related.
I know they had talked about it. I know
Okay.
that there was some committee meetings on it. I don't think I kind of thought that they were going to have some approvals out of that for this meeting, but they may be just doing that in October because there's no
Right.
rush to do it now
Okay.
on what that exactly ends up being. So there's a
Gotcha.
few things in discussion items that, moving forward might be something that we'll have to talk about, but nothing, again, nothing real big in that stuff. But
Sounds good.
yeah,
All right.
it was a busy board meeting.
Was a lot of stuff. Those board meetings are always busy. There's always,
There's always something.
something, that is changing, happening.
Yeah.
Uh, that's for sure. So, yeah, I think the biggest thing is the hockey one, at least so
That
far,
is,
in terms of how things are going to get
yeah,
seated. So,
that the hockey one is a big one, and then Division II baseball going down to four
yeah,
teams. I think
eh,
that's something I've wanted that to happen for a while. And I know that might not be the most popular opinion, but they just don't have enough pitching. Those teams that are in Division II, the three
right.
day tournament is really tough
It's tough.
to
Yeah,
do. And it has nothing to do with actual baseball of, oh, I just don't think they're any good. You just run out of pitching. And that's you got to have pitchers. And that's just a really with 3 days and those smaller rosters, that's just really hard to do.
well, it's hard to do, and if you have somebody that's climbing up there in terms of pitch count and throwing, 80 pitches in a game, and you've already burned them. Like you can't.
Well,
Let's
can't
say
use
you
them.
make it to the semifinals, like you're like,
Yep.
oh, you can't throw tomorrow or whatever it is, So
Well, and
it's
if you only have if you only have one real pitcher, not real pitcher, but one that's
he's the
consistent,
ace, yeah,
he's the ace, and then you have maybe one or two others. It just isn't you. If one of those guys doesn't have it, then you burn up those other two pitchers before the second game even starts, and that just
right,
doesn't.
right,
I've just seen it for so many years at Division II that there's some teams that have enough pitchers, but that may be one, maybe two of the teams, and they're usually the ones in the championship.
right,
Everybody else has fallen by the wayside way back by then. So
yeah.
that's a big move. I'm glad to see that's happened.
Oh, I think
And the
that's good.
RPI I think will be good too for hockey.
Yep. No, it will be. So, is there a place where people can see the minutes by
Yeah,
chance, like online?
if you go to ASAA.org, on the very top bar you'll see kind of a listing of things, and right at the
Things.
top there, things they're kind of in the mountains. You'll see a home. There's an
Oh, I see it.
about
Yeah,
us,
yeah.
and if you hover over the about us, you can go to the board meeting section. Click that, and that'll take you to minutes and notes and the agendas that of upcoming board meetings. So even next year when we're talking board meetings and things that are coming up,
Yeah,
especially before that first one in October, that's the place you can bookmark and check it out.
I like it. I like
Yep.
it. All right, good to know. Kind of wraps up with the high school sports. A lot of stuff that we covered there. One note that I want to mention in terms of college athletics, local product out of Betty Davis East Anchorage High School, staying in the state of Alaska. to play men's hoops up at UAF. Dang, dang.
Yeah.
Going to stay in the
Huge.
state of Alaska. It's huge. Like
Yeah.
Franco Stanek signing the local guys.
He
Jet
really
McCullough,
is.
remember? Jet
Yep.
McCullough out of Monroe. And now Dang Dang. I think they also just got a transfer from Eastern Arizona as well. But the local kids staying in the state right now. Hajdukovic as well, going to UAA. So Marek Hajdukovic. So it's good to see that the local talent choosing to stay to play either UAA or UAF right now. And I think it spells good things for college basketball. But Dang Dang last year for East played in 26 games, was one of the team's top scorers, second on the team in scoring, averaging 12 and a half points per game. He shot over, I can't believe this, he shot over 60% from the field.
That's
60%.
a really, really good percentage because not all of those are layups.
I mean, that's crazy to think that somebody like that's not even something you see in college from anybody. I mean, if you see a college guy shooting 48%, you're like, whoa,
Yeah,
like
that's
that's
huge.
that's huge. So, uh, yeah, so Dang Dang, a big part of East Basketball State Championship this past season, and not even that, a couple of seasons ago as well, making the leap to college to stay at UAF to play college hoops next year. I will be curious to see how many of these guys potentially redshirt.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not even that brings up my next question. Just like an epiphany. Red shirts really aren't a thing anymore, I feel like, in college athletics. Because of the NIL, the transfer thing, all that stuff. I feel like it is, I mean, a thing, but with the immediacy of freshmen playing, like I don't know, like if a coach came to try to recruit somebody right now, are they throwing out, "Hey, we're going to redshirt you your first year"? Like that's not something that's coming out of a coach's mouth, right? Saying like, "Hey, I want you to come to this university. I want you to come play, but your very first year, we're going to put you on a red shirt." Like, I feel like a lot of athletes these days that are looking to go to college would be like, "Yeah, thanks," you know. But I don't know. That's just me and
I
my
don't,
how I'm perceiving it.
I'm
But
honestly, I'm not really sure. I mean,
I don't know either. I would like to know the numbers on that.
I would think that maybe at the Division 1 level that doesn't happen as much.
I
Maybe
don't know.
Division 2 they do. I'm not, that's a very interesting question. When I
I
think
would.
about we have there'll be um well just for UAF this year, you'll have the Jet McCullough Monroe, you'll have Eric Stockhausen, Ketchikan, Deng, you'll have from East. Let's see. I know there's a couple more. I'm pretty sure you could get a starting
Yeah.
five out of the who is the other oh Gnome what's his name? Why am I totally blanking on
Finn
the
Grigg.
Finn Gregg? Yeah, he's UAF.
Yeah, there's a lot of them going to UAF.
There's that's four.
So
And then if I'm not mistaken, there's a couple there's two or three on the team right now.
yeah, possibly that I'm not
Chris
thinking
Lee,
about.
I
Yeah,
mean
Chris.
Chris
I
Lee,
think Chris. I think he transferred.
did he
Actually,
transfer?
I think so. I think he did. At least I saw something like he hit the portal or something like that. So, but there's a lot of incoming freshmen, a lot of in-state talent. I'll be curious to see you know if one red shirts, maybe two, or I don't know. Uh, my thought of the red shirt was just with everything that is happening in college athletics, in terms of players playing immediately, the ability to go to pretty much anywhere or transfer at any time to any school. Um, you know, like I feel like a coach's selling point. It's not leading off with, "Hey, we know you're an incoming freshman. We want to have you around at this program for X number of years. We want you to redshirt your freshman year." And college basketball is weird I say it's weird. It's different from college football. Okay. College football, you can redshirt and have played 4 games, right? In college basketball, as soon as you step on the court, that red shirt is done, right? You don't get like 2 games to play or anything of that nature, if memory serves me correct. So that would be kind of an interesting thing to kind of see change at the NCAA level, but neither here nor there. But anyway, it's good news for Dang Dang overall. So
Yes.
congratulations to UAF and Dang Dang for committing to the Nanooks and get a chance to see him a couple of times a year against UAA. So,
Oh, Xavier Baker from Dimond. He signed up at UAF.
just everybody signing at
Everybody,
UAF.
Frank's grabbing everybody.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't know. Outside of Marek Hajdukovic, I'm trying to think if UAA has signed any other local players, at least so far on this recruiting class. I don't think they have as of yet.
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I'm not sure.
I think Marek's the only local product, at least in terms of freshmen, that is signed. Yeah, I think by Miley information and looking at things, I think so. I know that I mentioned it last podcast that Silas Williams, transfer out of Sagat Valley College, also committing to UAA, but I think Marek Hajdukovic is only the local player right now from the high school ranks that is committed out of this freshman class.
Yeah,
So,
I think you're right. That I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
I know a couple of on the girls' side, but I
yeah,
think Merrick's the only one on the boys.
right. I think so. So, anyway, we'll keep an eye on things that are going on in the off season in terms of college athletics at UAA and UAF, and keep you informed with what's going on. Throw this one out there as well. UAA men's basketball team still looking for an assistant coach. So Rusty Osborne and the staff at UAA is still trying to find an assistant men's basketball coach there after Ryan Orton took the head job down at Western Oregon. So still open on that one, but hopefully filled soon. Anything else we want to bring up?
No, we've touched on a lot of things. It's
All right.
we've just got state tournament. Next week will be a big one we'll have the actual soccer brackets out, ready to go.
Yep.
Look forward to that, seeing how it all lays out.
Yep, it'll be interesting. It is state tournament time. Hard to believe already coming up for soccer, baseball, softball, and track and field as well. Hey, I want to throw this out there. Golden Nugget Triathlon was yesterday. Congratulations to all the women that competed in the Golden Nugget Triathlon. The winning time, I can't recall her name off the top of my head, but did it in less than an hour, the triathlon.
Get out of here. An hour?
Bike, less than an hour by like 7 or 8 seconds.
Wow.
It was like 59 minutes and 52 seconds or 53 seconds. Like, what in the world? So congratulations to all the women who competed in that fantastic event. Didn't realize that the Golden Nugget Triathlon is the largest women's only triathlon in the nation.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
It is. Yeah. It's crazy.
Wow.
I think they had like 17 different states represented at this year's triathlon. So pretty cool stuff. So anyway, just want to make mention of that. Now you know. The more you know. So anyway, yeah. So that'll do it for this episode of the Alaska Sports Talk podcast. Be sure you check us out on all your favorite social media channels. Like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Check us out on YouTube. You can search Alaska Sports Talk podcast and click the like button there as well. For Isaiah Vreeman / Brad Hoskins.
Yeah.
Brad Hoskin. I'm just kidding. I'm Keaton Homer signing it off. We'll talk at you next week with more Alaska Sports.